The Great Matriarch by Musa. Introduction. Who is Agnes Strikehead? What great act did she do that made her the Great Matriarch? Is there legal reference or documentation to her identity? Let's begin by United States court history, which is a function of a country that has no royal family bloodlines and is not permitted to have any. The decision from the case Carroll versus Pathkiller classified all American Indians that follow Aboriginal tribal government of ancient times, of women of the clan that select chiefs to speak on their behalf, as a nation to be kings and queens, and the offspring to be of this same bloodline. This was updated on January 17th, 1975, by Judge Erbaum in the case United States versus Consolidated Wounded Knee Cases, when he stated, and he was talking to 65 Indians trying to prove their sovereignty, quote, "We cannot bring the caucus omissus in the law or a treaty," end quote. So Agnes Strikehead has the royal bloodline because she believed the ancient system of government and was born in exile because of it. There was two major armies. One, Indians who had taken on an autonomy government, automatically making them nationals of the United States. And two, the army representing the United States, who were trying to make my grandmother's parents, as part of a tribal unit, to let the U.S. nationals to speak on behalf of signatories, to make and sign a treaty with the United States under threat of death that drove her parents into exile. All these historical events are well documented by the Departments of Interior and the Department of War. How these events are presented in history, everyone has some idea how the systems of propaganda work in Russia, China, or Iraq, or even North Vietnam. Well, the United States is no different when it comes to American Indian issues. What great act did she do to make her the Great Matriarch? She produced a grandson with her bloodline and her clan, who was commissioned by her to carry on a quest to present the event, being born in exile, which was a violation of international law, which has not been resolved to this day before an international tribunal. If one were to make an inquiry into the United States Justice Department, they would be told there as more millions spent keeping track of her grandson than all Indian activists of the 1960s to 1970s. Her grandson is classified as a troublemaker, and more millions were spent to send him to prison as a political prisoner than the deficit for the city of Buffalo, New York, for the budget of 1993 and part of 1994. The alleged federal criminal charges could never take a review by an international tribunal because the real issue the United States had to stop from opening up was 80% of all tribal funds and revenues were leaving the United States for another country or nation that had nothing to do with American culture, problems, or issues. That $1 trillion was known to have been sent. One, American Indians had no knowledge of this issue, and two, the United States had never been given permission by a referendum vote by all the Indians in the United States to send their money other places. Indians are fighting just to get a few food stamps to eat. The court sentences, totaling 20 years, was in hopes that her grandson would rot and die in prison, just like Geronimo and others did. But her grandson hit it lucky and was able to rid himself out of prison after 31 months. The United States knows her grandson can sit down and write a document that will overcome any Indian problem on any Indian reservation. But he knows legally as well as traditionally, once an Indian is a national of the United States, they will never care to become a signatory again. The grandson knows the tribal prophecies have said this 1,000 years ago. And this is the end of section 1 of The Great Matriarch by Meredith Quinn, Musa, as read by Siava.